What if the person running the game was secretly stealing from it? December 2011. The Bellagio, Las Vegas. Over $50,000 an hour flowing across a single craps table. Wagers range from $2,000 to $5,000. Chips embedded with RFID tags, and more than 1,000 cameras recording everything. A trusted dealer stood at the center of it all, paying out bets with rehearsed precision. But hidden inside that routine, high-value chips were vanishing in plain sight. It would take over 200 hours of footage to finally prove how. Stacks of chips move across the felt with a rhythm that never slows. In the Bellagio's high-limit pit, money isn't just wagered, it is in motion, always. Every hour, over $50,000 passes through a single craps table. That's not an exaggeration or a marketing boast. It's the reality of a floor where the minimum bet can be $1,000, and a single roll can see $10, $20, even $50,000 on the line. Players arrive with thick wads of cash and a taste for risk. The smallest wager at these tables is more than most people's rent. The average bet, $2,000, sometimes $5,000, lands with a soft thud, one after another, stacking up in neat towers or vanishing in seconds. On a busy night, a dozen players crowd the rail. Each one tosses chips, calls out odds, and signals for more. The dice travel from hand to hand, but the real action is in the chips. Hundreds of them every minute, in constant motion. Dealers slide them across the table with practiced hands. Payouts are fast, precise, almost hypnotic. The pit boss watches, scanning for anything out of place, but the pace is relentless. Chips change hands, stacks rise and fall, and the numbers on the table reset with every roll. The scale is staggering. In just 60 minutes, a single table can see more than $50,000 in bets. Multiply that by the number of tables and the length of the shift, and the stakes become almost abstract, a blur of movement and sound punctuated by the sharp call of the dice. For the players, it's a rush. For the staff, it's a system, a living, breathing organism built on routine and repetition. But that same speed, that same flow of money, creates shadows. In a world where thousands of dollars pass in the blink of an eye, a missing chip is easy to overlook. A $5,000 bar, lost in the shuffle, can disappear without a trace. The high-limit pit is designed to absorb these shocks. Small discrepancies vanish into the noise. Only when the pattern repeats, when the numbers refuse to balance, does anyone pause. Here, every player is anonymous. Faces blur in the crowd. The only constant is the dealer, steady, unflinching, hands moving with the calm of someone who belongs. The house trusts its own. The system trusts its numbers. But in this environment, trust is just another bet. And sometimes the biggest risks are the ones that no one sees coming. Dealer A stands behind the rail, hands poised over the felt, every movement choreographed by hours of repetition. The table's surface is a blur of colour. $100 chips stacked in neat towers, $500 chips with their deep hue, and the rare $1,000 disc, heavy and cold to the touch. Each denomination has its place in the tray, each payout a ritual carried out with the same steady rhythm. The dealer collects losing bets, verifies the winners, and pays out. 3 steps, no deviation, no wasted motion. On busy nights, the pace never lets up. Players call out bets, chips fly across the table, and the dealer's hands glide from tray to felt and back again. The payout flow is relentless. Collect, verify, pay. A $500 chip slides across the felt, vanishing into a player's stack. A $1,000 chip returns to the tray, ready for the next roll. The cadence is measured, almost serene, even as tens of thousands of dollars move in and out of the dealer's reach every hour. But the calm is deceptive. Each chip, especially those $500 and $1,000 pieces, carries more than its face value. Since 2009, the Bellagio has embedded RFID tags in every $1,000 chip, and some say in the $500 chips too. These chips are not just currency, they are tracked assets, their movements logged by a silent sensor network beneath the table. Every time a chip leaves the tray, the system records it. Every return is noted. The dealer knows this. The pit boss knows it. The system trusts the numbers, not the people. Still, the dealer's hands remain the final authority. The payout begins with a call from the dealer. Winner on the line, and it ends with the dealer's hand delivering chips to the player. In between, there is a flick of the wrist, a subtle pause, a moment when the chip passes from one world to the next. The choreography is precise. Collect the losing bets, count and verify the winners, pay out with the right denomination. On high limit tables, a second dealer may double check the stack when $1,000 chips are in play. But even with this safeguard, the process depends on trust and muscle memory. The dealer's access is absolute. Every chip on the table, from the smallest to the largest, passes through their fingers. The stakes are massive, but the motions are small, just enough to blend in with the noise, just enough to escape notice. The system is designed to catch errors, not intent. And in the blur of a crowded table, a missing chip is just a number, a minor variance in a sea of transactions. But the numbers do not lie forever. When the counts start to drift, when the $500 chips run low, when the $1,000 chips do not add up, the system takes notice. The pit boss logs the variance. The audit team checks the records. And somewhere, deep in the surveillance archives, an analyst rewinds the tape, searching for the moment when routine became opportunity. In a place where every move is recorded, even the dealer cannot beat the house. It started with a single chip, not a stack, not a handful, just one. Dealer A, working the late shift, let his hand linger half a second longer over the tray. The payout was routine, the table crowded, the pit boss distracted by a new arrival. In that moment, a $500 chip vanished. Not into a player's stack, not onto the felt, but into the dealer's palm. The move was invisible, folded into the blur of 1,000 motions. No one flinched. No one noticed. The system didn't blink. One chip, then nothing. The next night, the same. Always a single chip, always on a shift when the table was at its loudest and the bets at their highest. The amount was small, never enough to trigger the system's alarms, never enough to stand out against the ocean of chips flowing across the felt. The pit boss recorded the end of shift count, saw a minor shortage, and chalked it up to error. After all, even the best dealers miscount in the chaos. The difference was less than 0.1%, not worth a second glance. For dealer A, the act barely registered as theft. Each removal felt trivial, almost harmless. In a room where a single hand could see $50,000 in play, what was one chip? The psychology of micro-pilferage took hold. Rationalizations stacked up as neatly as the chips themselves. Nobody gets hurt. The casino won't notice. It's just this once. But the pattern held. One chip, once per shift, always below the threshold that would draw attention. The routine became habit. The habit became a ritual. Over time, the numbers began to drift. The $500 chips ran low, just a little at first. The audit logs showed tiny persistent variances, never enough to justify a full investigation, always enough to make the next count slightly harder to balance. The system trusted its numbers. The staff trusted the system. Dealer A trusted that nobody was watching closely enough to see the difference. In the shadows of the high-limit pit, the smallest acts left the faintest traces. But even the smallest trace, repeated enough times, can start to leave a mark. Noise fills the high-limit pit. Dice clatter, chips slap the felt, and voices rise and fall in a wash of sound. Every table is a storm of movement. Players jostle for space, bets are called out from every angle, and the air vibrates with anticipation. In this chaos, the line between order and confusion blurs. The crowd becomes a shield, drawing the attention of pit bosses and surveillance away from the dealer's hands at just the right moment. The dealer's motions are deliberate, but timing is everything. The crucial crossover, when the hand moves from verifying a payout to actually delivering it, lasts less than a second. In that window, a chip can slip from tray to palm, hidden by the arc of the wrist or the shadow of another bet. The move is masked by the very procedures designed to keep the game honest. Collect, verify, pay. Each step flows into the next, but the crossover is where routine becomes camouflage. The acoustics of the room help too. $1,000 chip makes the same soft click as 100. The clamour of the crowd, the calls of players, and the constant rattle of chips drown out any sound that might give away a missing piece. Hands blur at the edge of vision, especially when the table is packed and everyone's focus is on the dice. Motion blur isn't just a camera problem, it's a human one. Eyes can't track every detail when 20 things happen at once. At peak moments, the pit boss is distracted by a player cashing in, a stack of bills needing approval, or a dispute over odds. The dealer's hands move with the same practiced rhythm, but a slight hesitation, a fraction of a second, goes unnoticed. The crowd's energy works as cover. Every player is watching the action, not the hands. The system trusts the choreography. It's designed to catch mistakes, not intent. In this environment, the difference between routine and deception is measured in milliseconds. The dealer's sleight of hand is invisible, not because it's perfect, but because it's perfectly timed. The house has cameras, protocols, and numbers. But for a while, the crowd itself becomes the best disguise. The pit boss logs the end of shift numbers with the same steady hand he uses to break up arguments or approve a $20,000 buy-in. Every chip in the tray is counted, every denomination tallied, every total entered into the table management system. Most nights, the numbers line up. Not tonight. The $500 chips are short, enough to notice, not enough to panic. The difference is measured in thousands, not hundreds. Still, the pit boss does not hesitate. He enters the shortage in the variance log, initials the page, and flags the floor supervisor. The casino's protocols do not leave room for doubt. Any shortage above the set threshold, just a fraction of a percent, triggers an immediate escalation. A secondary count is ordered. The audit team is summoned to the pit, moving with quiet urgency. Chips are recounted, trays unlocked, stacks broken down and rebuilt, one denomination at a time. The numbers refuse to balance. The system spits out an exception report, red text against a sea of black. The shortage persists after the recount. No misplaced stack, no overlooked payout, no plausible arithmetic error. The floor supervisor's face tightens. He calls the operations manager. Within minutes, a formal investigation is opened. The audit team begins to pull records, shift logs, payroll schedules, table assignments. They compare the shortage against prior weeks, searching for a pattern. The discrepancy is not random. It repeats on the same table, the same shift, always just enough to stay below the radar until now. The casino's internal controls are relentless. An exception report lands on the desk of the surveillance director. The request is blunt: extract every frame of footage from the affected pit over the last 48 hours. The audit team prepares to scour hours of video, hunting for the moment when routine broke. In the Bellagio's world of controlled chaos, a missing chip is never just a number. It is a signal. Something is wrong, and the system is designed to find out what. Jenna Miller sits in the windowless surveillance room, eyes locked on a wall of screens. The stack of flagged variances has grown too large to ignore. She has been assigned the impossible task: find a single missing chip in a sea of movement. For 3 days, she scrubs through footage. 210 hours of dice, hands, chips, and faces. The casino never sleeps, and neither does the footage. Every payout, every roll, every flick of the dealer's wrist is captured in high definition, time-stamped and archived. She does not trust the fast-forward button. Instead, she works frame by frame. The dealer's hands move in a blur at normal speed, but when slowed, the choreography falls apart. A payout begins, chips slide across the felt, and then a pause. The dealer's left hand lingers half a second longer than it should. A $500 chip is palmed, not paid. The movement is so subtle, so perfectly timed, that onlookers at the table see nothing. The pit boss, distracted by a player's question, misses it. But the camera does not blink. At this moment, let's pause for a breath. If you're hooked by the precision and suspense of this story, subscribe to the channel now. The next few seconds change everything. Miller rewinds. She steps through the sequence again, frame by frame. The same move on 3 different nights, always the same hand, always the same chip. The pattern is undeniable. She logs the timestamp, tags the footage, and calls her supervisor. The chain of custody protocol activates. The evidence is exported to a secure drive, signed out by the director, sealed in a tamper-evident bag. Every step is logged, every handoff documented. There is no room for error now. Security moves quickly. Dealer A is paged to the office, escorted by 2 plainclothes guards. The chips in his tray are counted, then counted again. He is asked to empty his pockets. Human Resources sits in, notepad open. The questions are clinical, the tone flat. Kelly claims a miscount, offers to re-audit his tables. But the footage is already in the vault. The numbers leave no doubt. The chain of custody packet is assembled. Seized chips, surveillance DVD, forensic audit report. By the end of the day, Kelly is suspended pending a full forensic audit. Bellagio's internal controls go into overdrive. Forensic accountants trace every high denomination chip by RFID serial number. The loss matches the dealer's shifts, the pattern confirmed across 3 separate nights. By October 22nd, the Chief of Security authorizes formal detention. Legal prepares the referral to law enforcement. The evidence, footage, chips, audit logs, moves under seal, every signature and timestamp in place. In a place where every move is recorded, even the dealer cannot beat the house. Every year, casinos handle billions in chips, watched by thousands of eyes and tracked by endless data. Yet even the most rigorous controls can miss what is hidden in routine. As technology advances, so do the methods of deception. The true test is not what is stolen, but what escapes notice. In a place where every move is recorded, even the dealer can't beat the house.